G'day there ladies and gents, Connie here once more, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoyed these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Okay, we're on relationships. This one was written by user Calamity Jessie, and it's titled, I feel like my boyfriend humiliated me, but he doesn't think he did anything wrong. Okay, so me and my boyfriend have been together now for a little over a year. We have some small differences, but honestly we have it good and I'm very comfortable. The biggest difference we have is sex. I firmly believe in not having penetrative sex before marriage. I told this to him straight up on like our third date before anything got too serious. And I'm posting here instead of change my view, so I don't want anyone to try and tell me I'm wrong for this or anything. I don't want a religious or philosophical debate. Anyway, he sometimes pressures me about it and teases me, but it's usually all light-hearted and fun. I'm very sexually inexperienced and don't really watch any porn, but he's been very calm and helpful with me. It hasn't been a problem at all or even come up how innocent I am. Fast forward to the other day. He convinces me to go shopping for toys. We went to an adult store, and when we got there, he started acting very strange. He was pulling out all of the most extreme toys and clothes and showed me extreme-looking videos. It was making me all very uncomfortable. The worker who was helping us in the beginning was also sort of joining in with him. When I confronted him about the teasing and the reason why we were there, and I found out the worker was a friend of his and they were working together to tease me, well, I'd already had a stressful enough week as it is, and I just lost it and started crying because I felt so embarrassed. I ended up taking the bus home since he drove us and I was upset at him. When we got home, I gave him the cold shoulder for a little bit, but that night I brought it up to him. I told him I felt humiliated, and he said that he did nothing wrong. He said it was just a joke and that I shouldn't take these things so seriously. I'd be willing to let it go if he just apologized, but he didn't. Today he came to me and said that his friends also thought I was being too serious, and I just got even more embarrassed because he told all his friends about us going to the sex shop. I just don't know what to do. My emotions are a mess. I don't want to be the harpy girlfriend that always makes things uncool, but I just know deep down that how he acted about this was totally unacceptable. Is it stupid of me to wonder if we should even still be together? Nope, just sounds like the classic my boyfriend doesn't respect me. If you ask me, dump this guy. Honestly, not worth the effort. Let's go to the comments. Quote, I'd be willing to let it go if he just apologized, but he didn't. Today he came to me and said that his friends also thought that I was being too serious, and I just got even more embarrassed because he told all his friends about us going to the sex shop. Yeah, you're dating a child. He's 27. Instead of thinking about it from your perspective for a second and doing a little soul searching, he went to his friend who was in on the prank and got an echo of his own sentiment. Then he escalated the situation further by spreading it beyond the three of you. Immaturity I can stand. People grow out of it eventually. Stupidity, I cannot. The actual incident was bad enough. Even if there was no malicious intent, it was still cruel and ill thought out. And guess what? He knows this is a sensitive topic, and that's exactly what he chose to attack. To use intimate knowledge of the person you're supposed to care about to target an attack on them is just barbaric. His reaction to the whole thing has been especially atrocious. He seems to have zero idea about how to empathize with other people. His attitude seems to be, well, my friends and I think that this is objectively funny, so your feelings are invalid. Instead of dealing with this problem between the two of you, which it is, he decided to seek validation in his other friends, only increasing the damage. Well, guess what? Your feelings are not invalid. He doesn't get to frickin' tell you to not cry when you're upset, just like he doesn't get to tell you something doesn't make you upset. Anyway, this was a lot more long-winded than I was expecting, but it boils down to this. F this guy, dump him, and then ask him if he still thinks it's funny. OP replies, he is the kind of guy who gets defensive easily, but this is our first big fight and problem, so I never really noticed it before now. Honestly, I think I'll confront him one more time and tell him if he doesn't own up to his actions, I can't be with him anymore. Someone says, you can't help people like that. If they can't ever be wrong, then nobody else can ever be right. OP replies, part of me thinks that he wants me to break up with him so he can just say, oh, my girlfriend was crazy. Is that paranoid? He invalidates your feelings, jokes about your inexperience with his friends, and pressures you about your decision to remain a virgin. This isn't someone you want to stay with because he doesn't respect you. She says, I didn't think about it as disrespect before. That's kind of eye-opening. Hey, I sell sex toys. This was inconsiderate and not cool. Part of our job is to help people be less nervous, not ratchet up their anxiety. Yeah, okay, onto an update. 9 days later. So I got a PM asking me for an update a couple of days ago, but things have only just settled enough for me to post something about this again. A lot of you were saying that this prank he pulled on me was disrespectful and childish, and I had to agree. What worried me is that I never saw this side of him before. I mean, we'd been dating for a year, and this was the first instance of something so cruel. Since this was the only time I've seen him like this, I decided to sit down and have a talk with him about it, since I'm so uneasy about breaking up with people over something that might have just been a mistake. I did talk an awful lot about how humiliated I felt, and how I didn't think he understood. I must have talked for at least 20 minutes about how I was very confused and didn't know why he would do such a thing like that to me. He ended up turning it into a religious debate. He's atheist, and I know that, but he also knew that I was Christian when we started dating. He was just telling me that I should thank him because he was doing me a favor in exposing me to all this sexual imagery, and that religion is bad for women anyway because it makes them all submissive. I didn't want to debate religion with him. I really didn't want this incident to become about that, but he wasn't apologizing, and he obviously didn't feel bad about it at all. I broke up with him right then and there. If he couldn't respect me and my choices, it was a choice to be Christian as my parents are agnostic, then he didn't deserve to be in my life. He flew off the handle after that and started shouting at me. He told me that this was all my fault because my stupid religion was keeping me from experiencing sex. I kind of get the feeling that this little stunt was supposed to shame me into feeling bad that I'm a virgin. At least that's what he strongly implied. It really just ensured me that I was doing the right thing in breaking up with him. He's not very tolerant. Unfortunately, we'd just started renting an apartment together in April. I'll keep paying my half of the rent, but I'll probably move back into my parents until the lease is up in September. I still feel embarrassed about the whole thing though. I can't believe I wasted so much time with someone like that. Good riddance. Some final comments. I'm really happy you never had sex with this a-hole. Someone who belittles you for your beliefs, religion or otherwise does not deserve to be in a relationship with anyone. I'm really sorry, but I'm happy you stood your ground. She says, one thing I will not tolerate in a relationship is intolerance of beliefs, ironically. Just curious, with agnostic parents, how did you decide upon Christianity? She says, when I was in high school, a friend invited me along to a Christmas party at her youth group, and there was free food and fun activities, so I said sure. And I liked the people, so I showed up to a few more events, and then I just joined the church. I feel like to a lot of people, no sex before marriage is taken as a challenge rather than a boundary. Too many people take boundaries or preferences as a challenge. I don't drink, I don't eat meat, I don't shop at that store, I'm a different religion, atheist, agnostic, etc. There's always some jerk who tries to push or trick them into doing it anyway. Opie's ex, religion makes women submissive, so I reject it. Also, Opie's ex wants her to swallow her discomfort at his wildly disrespectful actions and felt like it was his right to expose her to things she did not want to be exposed to. The irony. Your religion shouldn't control you, I should instead. Yeah, and that pretty much sums it up, I think. Anyway guys, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. Okay folks, still on relationships, this one was written by user Bug of Paradise, and it's titled, My fiancé and I are throwing a party, and want to tell a friend that he is not invited. My fiancé, 26 male, and I, 26 female, are throwing a big New Year's Eve party at our house. My fiancé's friends are helping us put it on. We'll be providing food, kegs, games, etc. We're really excited, and sent out over 100 Facebook invitations. In the description of the Facebook event, we stated that all are welcome. There is one person in particular that I choose not to invite, Ben. Here's the backstory on Ben. Ben went to college with me and my fiancé, and was a part of a large group of friends that we made through our shared major. We would hang out with him and mutual friends, and I was always very friendly towards him. but began to notice over time that he wasn't someone I enjoyed spending time with. Ben was always very arrogant throughout school in regards to school, but afterwards, losing a lot of weight in college, his ego went through the roof. It was as if he'd transformed into a teenager. He would brag about how much pot he could smoke, how many girls he could pull, about basically everything. He would get so sloppy at parties and break things like a bull in a china shop. He was loud, obnoxious, arrogant, immature, and generally very unpleasant to be around. Well, after graduation, I just so happened to get a job at the same place that he works. I'm a little nervous but excited about the job. Ben and I worked together for about a year and would occasionally see each other after work. We have other mutual friends that live in the same city as us. Our mutual friends seemed to like Ben, so I mostly kept my feelings about him under wraps. I would be friendly in the group settings, but make it a point to avoid him whenever I could. I would vent to my fiancé about Ben, and he agreed that he could not stand Ben for the same reasons. The peak of my distaste for Ben would happen one weekend towards the end of our time working together. A big group of our friends went out and had a wild night. We all drank, smoked, danced, and stayed out until about 3 a.m. I get a taxi back to my apartment with my roommate and 2 other friends who were planning on staying over that night. Ben pushes his way into the cab, assuming that he would also stay at my place without asking. There had been some sexual tension between Ben and a friend of a friend, I'll call her Julie, throughout the night, so Ben obviously is looking to hook up with her at my apartment. Ben is obnoxious during the entire cab ride home. He keeps grabbing the volume control in the cab and cranking it all the way up, screaming and hanging out of the window. The cab driver is understandably pissed and repeatedly tells him to stop, and has to keep adjusting the volume down to a reasonable level every time Ben cranks it up. We're all telling Ben to stop acting like a child, but this is very typical behaviour for him. We arrive back at my apartment, and I set up 2 air mattresses with blankets and pillows in the living room for everyone. I go to my room to bed, and everyone else stays in the living room. Ben takes it upon himself to turn my stereo on and blast music at 3:30 a.m. I have neighbours on the other side of the living room wall, and I'm also trying to get to sleep at this point. I have to tell him to turn it down 3 times before he actually listens. It's literally like speaking to a child. I go back into my room, and sure enough, not 5 minutes later, Ben turns the music back up. I walk out and I'm more assertive this time, and he complies. The next morning, everyone had left except my roommate. My roommate informs me that Ben had sex with Julie in the middle of the living room with our other guests in the same room. They all, of course, felt very uncomfortable. My roommate is telling me this as I'm cleaning up the mess in the living room. I notice a large spot on one of the blankets I laid out. Turns out Ben frickin' came all over my blanket and didn't feel obligated to wipe it up, so now I'm fuming. Ben has no regard for my home and doesn't care about the feelings of anyone else besides himself. He acts like a child, and I'm done with him. Which works out because Ben plans on travelling for the next few months. I won't have to deal with him for much longer, so I bite my tongue. Well, I received a text today from Ben saying that he's back in town and he'd love to attend the New Year's Eve party. I really don't know what to do at this point. I want to tell him that he isn't welcome in my home, but I also don't want to be unnecessarily mean about it. He's still friends with many of my friends, and to be honest, he has no idea that I dislike him at all. I've never expressed that to him, so he thinks everything is cool. What should I do? Am I being petty? Should I just let him come to the party and avoid him there? I honestly don't want him in my home, and neither does my fiancé, but we both don't want to be mean about it. Any advice would be appreciated. Oh man, I'm getting mad on behalf of OP here. Honestly, I'd just tell Ben that what he did last time he was over was unacceptable, and you're not going to have it again, so tough luck, champion. Let's see what the comments think. Say, look Ben, you disrespected my home the last time you were in it by having sex on my blanket and not cleaning up after yourself. As such, you are no longer welcome in my home. But also, why aren't you equally as mad as Julie about screwing in your living room? Probably Julie didn't have the massive history of being a jerk that Ben did, so she was more forgivable. Opie says, I've only met Julie twice. Like I said, she's a friend of a friend. I was equally upset that she participated, but I don't really know her, and she's not asking for an invite to the party. Say, no, you aren't invited. Opie says, direct, I like it. Honestly, I know I have to stand up for myself here, just trying to phrase it in a way that is firm, but not rude. I do think he should be told why he isn't invited. The commenter says he's not invited because he's damaged your property in the past, and you find his behaviour offensive. It's your home, your party, it's your right to say no. Not one of your friends told him to knock it the hell off as he was banging someone in the middle of them? Crap, after the second time he turned up her stereo, I would have thrown his ass out. She says, I think they were just shocked. Did you ever talk to Ben about his behaviour previously? He was, and likely is, a giant butt for his actions, but he still deserves to know why he's no longer welcome in your apartment. She replies, I've never addressed my issues with him in the past. I guess up until this point I figured it was his personality to be such a jerk. I was hoping he would just fade out of my life, but I see that won't be the case now. Time to act. I plan on messaging him this afternoon and expressing why he's not invited. Say, sorry Ben, we have a pretty strict limit on the number of times a person can leave ejaculate on our personal belongings and still be welcome in our home, and you've exceeded the limit. While we do have some hard feelings about this, we understand your feelings are likely now flaccid. What a great one. Okay, Opie edits. Thanks for the input, everyone. I really appreciate it. I decided to message Ben back and sent the following. Quote, Hey Ben, Happy New Year to you too. It would be nice to see you, but to be honest, the last time you came to my house, you disrespected me in my space. You had sex with Julie in my living room with others present and came all over my blanket and air mattress and didn't feel the need to clean up after yourself, or at the very least let me know. That being the case, I hope you understand that I do not feel comfortable having you over. I'll update again if and when he responds. One comment says, living for your edit. Really hope there's an update. I just imagined receiving that message and did a full body cringe. He should be ashamed. Opie says, my fiancé read over my message before I sent it, and he described the message as painfully detailed. I feel so awkward for having to lay it out like that, but I really think he needed to hear it. Hopefully he realizes that his actions have an impact on those around him. We'll definitely update when he responds. And let's go straight to that update, 5 days later. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented with advice on the original post. You guys helped me to realize the importance of putting my feelings out there and setting a strong boundary with Ben based on his past behaviour. Sorry it took me so long to update, there's been a lot happening this past few days. I sent Ben this message after the original post, and it's the same message in the edit. In response, Ben sent me the following, quote, I do feel comfortable with how you feel about that, and yeah, it was a really rough night, and I'm not excusing the way I acted at all, and hopefully I can give you an apology in the future in person. Then, shortly after, added, I'd like to say I have matured quite a lot since that incident, and I'm really sorry that I behaved not like a friend, or really even a decent person. I was really surprised about how well he took the message. As I briefly mentioned in the first post, Ben left our workplace about 6 months ago to travel abroad alone on somewhat of a finding himself journey. To be honest, I thought he would just use his experiences to boost his image and have something else to brag about, but maybe it was just what he needed to gain a little self-awareness. Can't be totally sure yet, but based on the maturity of his messages, I'm hoping for the best. On the other hand, I did feel like him saying that he's matured a lot since the last time we saw each other is a really easy thing to say, whether based in reality or not. He could have just wanted me to believe him and extend an invite. Bottom line is that he didn't show up to the party, and due to the lack of drama, the party was so fun. We had about 60 people show up and partied the night away. Having Ben at the party would have stressed me out just knowing the possibility of him acting out existed, so I'm really pleased with my decision to put my feelings on the table. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm planning on continuing to work on standing up for myself, even if it creates a bit of awkwardness or confrontation. Oh, great update. And yeah, he took it surprisingly well, so credit where credit's due, I suppose. Some final comments. Did you invite Julie to the party? She failed to tell you as well. She says no, Julie wasn't invited. This didn't cause an issue though, as we don't really run in the same circles. Our mutual friend has also started to distance himself from her since the incident. You came on my blanket. You cannot come to my party. Pro tip, you don't have to hang out with a-holes. In fact, it makes you an a-hole too. Like, that cab driver absolutely thought every person in that cab was as much of an a-hole as Ben was. People don't care that you're telling your friend to stop being an a-hole in public. They just see that you're a bunch of a-holes. No, the first time some idiot turns the music on in the room where we're trying to sleep at 3 AM is at the same time I'm unplugging the machine and yelling in their face to go to the hell to sleep. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's a time to be nice, and that definitely wasn't one of them. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts? Maybe you got a similar story you'd like to share. I hope not, for your sake. Otherwise, that's it from me today. Hope you enjoyed those ones. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.